Good evening, everybody out there. This is Rocken, Larry, Locken with Pleiadian Express Productions with Pleiadian Late Night Talk. I'm your host with the most, coming from the Oregon coast, West Coast, USA, and my co-host is a very sleepy, very tired neighbor to the northeast in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, her favorite city in the world, downtown Sara Browne. Hey, Sara, what's going on?
Nothing much, just chilling out and relaxing. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You obviously sound chilled, so that's good. That's good. How is Toronto today? How is the world's cleanest city?
Oh, it's very polluted and not too bad weather.
Cool, cool, cool. I can dig it. Okay. Hey, well, better you than me. But I just thought I'd tell the audience a little bit
Yes.
about. Yeah, I know. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I thought I would tell the audience. We could talk to the audience a little bit about some of the things that we'll be talking about on the show. Like, we kind of want to step away a little bit in this show from talking about extraterrestrials per se and things like that, and maybe we want to focus on the things that plague the starseed community and light workers and people going through these symptoms of ascension, and just people that are the things that we go through growing up, whether it's depression, whether it's drug addiction, alcohol addiction, relationship issues, loneliness. So I thought that maybe we would start off talking about loneliness, and the yin and the yang kind of loneliness.
Yeah.
I think that it's mostly a good thing in the long run, but I think what all of us can relate to is growing up feeling a little bit different than your family, even if you weren't an outcast, had a good relationship with your parents and siblings. But I think most of us felt like we were just a little different and things of that nature. And I know that can be kind of a lonely feeling when you see the truth and nobody else does. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, I totally agree. I think people that have grown and felt like they were different from other kids, it can be quite isolating. Because you think that, well, my personal experience is I've always known I was different from other kids. I was never ignorant to that. It has a deep emotional effect when you think that everybody is like you. Because when you're young, you're naive, so you think that everyone knows what you know. But in reality, they don't. It can be extremely lonely that way. When you grow up and growing up and you know that you're different. Because when you talk to people, that you're it's
What
a
you're
little
trying to
bit
get at?
scary when you. Yeah, it's a bit
It's
scary
hard
when
to.
you.
Yeah, it is scary. And not to interrupt you, but I think a lot of it too is this. Some of us have had real bad lives growing up or whatever, but some of it is just, it's so subtle. You're not really an
Yes.
outcast. It's more in our own mind that we are, but at the same time, something just didn't feel right. And it took so many
Yes.
years till basically this awakening started happening, for us to realize that, hey, there's a reason for it. And it's almost like, not to belittle people that have been through a lot of hard strife, but it would almost be better to go through that than it was just such a subtle thing inside. You just knew something was off, but who could you talk to? Who could you tell? I mean, out on an island like that, 80% of us grew up completely with nobody around like that.
Without.
About another 15 of us maybe had two people, five, lucky five, maybe two other people that were close to being like them. But at the same time, most of us we were clueless. We knew something was wrong, but we didn't know what. And it's just like being in a funk, kind of.
Yeah, that is
You
true.
know what I'm saying?
It can be quite dramatic feeling alone. Usually it's good in the long run, but also you have to it can be for your evolution as well. It is part of your evolution to
Well, I know that now,
figure
but geez,
out
where were
who
you? Where
you
were you when I
are
was 20 to tell
and
me that?
get the understanding. Find those people that you relate to. I know I personally had a lot of problems with that, because the fear is if you tell them what you know or you explain things in a certain way, they might think you're freaking crazy. So being an outcast from social life, but also through family,
Yeah.
the black sheep of the fammy,
Yeah,
that's
and I
a little bit hard to take, as being the
swallow.
black sheep of the family, where you're looked upon differently. You don't, yeah, you are judged
Yeah, and it
pretty
seems like no matter
much from your
how good,
family because they want you to be
yeah,
this certain way.
and no matter what you do, it seems like, in those times,
Act a certain
it felt
way.
like for me anyway, yeah, I felt like I was, no matter what, if I was doing the right thing, it felt like still like I was out of place or whatever. But at the same time, then they tell me, oh, you're just so smart and brilliant, and you got so much potential and do that. So they see that within us, but they don't see why we're that way. They don't see, they don't understand that along with all that intelligence and
Exactly.
consciousness, they don't see that there's a reason for that. And yeah, we're a little goddamn unique, I mean, it, it's just how it is. We're kind of like, we love everybody, but at the same time, we want our space. And you just feel a little off. And
Exactly.
I think that we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
And growing up like that, and you
I
just see the
I
truth
think
for
that
what it is.
I exactly, and I think that road is, if you don't have um, someone to talk to for support, you tend to and you tend to lose yourself along the way, especially when it comes to self-acceptance. That's something that I had a very hard time with, accepting myself, and it wasn't until maybe I have to say in my late 20s, going into my 30s, where I'm starting to accept who I am and being proud of it. And even though that you feel that you are alone, trust me, you are not alone. You have many, many, many guides. It's just being able to accept that you are different, and there's nothing wrong with being different.
No, there's really not. And I don't know about in your case,
Um,
but it was never really a situation where I felt lack of love from necessarily my elders or family members or anything like that. I think it was more within me. But at the same time, when we have that within ourselves, it portrays outward, and we manifest ourselves into becoming that black sheep almost. I don't think it's a matter of where anybody in our family was out to get us. It was something within us, and by us not having the answer, well, then how could anybody else have the answer to what was going on with us? And you're right, who the hell could you tell? Whether it's a school counselor or anybody, there was nobody to talk to, really. There's an old country song that says, for all the good it's done me, I might as well be talking to the moon. But then again, the moon is a good source of information. You would get more information and more results from talking to the moon than that. So I guess the analogy should have been a brick wall. I mean, you just see through things too. Like even growing up
exactly.
watching the news, I knew at 4 or 5 years old what I was watching was bullshit. As far as, I mean, I knew that there was something more to the story, and that it was just an illusion. Constantly night after night being barraged, especially here in North America, being barraged with the same kind of lies, like, well, like most every other country gets, but we get it here too in Canada and the US. they just like to lie about it and hide it a little bit better and make us think like we know, or we're in control, or we know what's going on. But yeah, and I think though, as time goes on and we spend a lot of time alone with ourselves, you know, we start to realize that, you know, maybe the rest of the world's nuts, and we're not so bad after all. And like you said about your late 20s, your early 30s, you realized that I didn't really start till I was 35 realizing it. And you know, it's a long road, but it seems like it's worth it. So it's not like we're trying to paint a doom and gloom picture for everybody. We're just trying to relate to people out there and let them know they are not alone. They're never alone. They've never been alone, and especially not now. Everything's coming to the surface and surfacing. So I think that, you know, I think definitely, I know that it's a good thing overall.
I think that there is.
It's been a journey.
Well, I think that for me, I've always known that even though I had friends and peers, I've always felt this sense of loneliness. In a way, it's benefit me because an individual journey is a lonely journey, and it's part of getting to know yourself. The lonely days and the lonely years I have, because it's is actually that individual journey, which we all have to take that road individually, but also together has a civilization. But at the end of the day, it's you yourself that you need to get one with before you can get that oneness with anything else. So even that you feel lonely, take it as an opportunity, has for a soul evolution, the healthiness of your consciousness, and take that deeper inner journey within your worlds and get to know yourself, get to know your higher self. Because to be honest with you, there is nothing like it in the world. I love being in my inner world. I live in it. This is where I manifest everything from. So I do still have my lonely days, but it's very occupied most of the time.
Right. No, I agree with you totally. And it's like, yeah, well, because we're walking all over each other here. Sorry, we're just getting used to this, everybody.
Yes.
But you know, it's like what you were saying. It's not like necessarily we had a lack of friends, because I had friends from all kinds of cliques growing up, whether it was athletes, gangsters, geeks, jocks, nerds, whatever, however you want to put it. I got along with everybody and had a plethora of friends from every group, but I never did fit in exactly to one group. And so at the same time, you can have all those acquaintances, but yet it's still the most lonely thing in the world. And at times, you know, you can have a million friends, and then at another time you can have none. And it's like, you know, it's just like you really are, you do feel like you're alone, but at the same time you find that it gives you a chance to raise your consciousness. I mean, I really feel, especially with me being an only child, it really helped, because I spent a lot of nights alone. And you just think, you do a lot of thinking, and then, of course, you overthink things sometimes, and I think what's really helped, though, is the difference now is since the awakening, is it's not so much mind chatter that I'm going out with, and second thoughts while I'm alone, and mind chatter. It's almost becoming like a pure consciousness flow. Like, it's just kind of, I'm not going to say all-knowing, but you know what I mean? You just let it come to you instead of going out there and chasing it down. And I think our minds are just expanding to that and becoming more open. It's not that we're getting, as our brains open more, it's not that we're getting more intelligent, but our awareness is developing and growing. Our consciousness is growing. And so we see things for what it is. And at the end of the day, you're right, it's just you and you alone, and getting right with yourself. But then one and one is all we have. One is all we have. We are one. And that starts with the person in the mirror, as Michael Jackson would say. You know, the man or the woman in the mirror. Not to, no pun intended, but I mean, it really does. And so I think that,
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, go ahead, expand on that for me.
It's I think that it is part of all knowing. You and yourself know everything because you're part of the creator source. So what the creator source knows, you know.
No, that's true. It's true.
I think deep inside yourself, and so whether we don't really need to that by artifacts, articles, and with proof, with facts, because the fact is that we are stardust, and that is all known creator, and therefore what he knows we know. We just have to tap into it. And so the lonely days really understanding the Akashic records, and eventually when you take that journey, that all-knowing becomes self-acceptance. You are, because that is who we are, and no way from it, because it's in us.
Yeah, it's true.
We can
forget. Barbara Marciniak said it best in Bringers of the Dawn.
We can forget.
Yeah, we're not here to learn anything new. We're here to remember that Godness, that creator in us. We're here to remember what we have. We have this all within us, It's not like we're learning anything, new. We're just waking up to remembering what we know and that divinity within us.
Exactly that. Exactly. So for anyone out there that feels lonely, take the time and get inside yourself, get inside your inner worlds, make your connections to your guides, to the spirit realms, to your ancestors, to the
exactly.
Because it's with so much love and
compassion.
Just have that alone time. Compassion.
Yeah.
And we really can't move forward in life and realization until we really get right with ourselves. We need to build relations as a unified nation of peoples of the earth before we can do anything else. Before we can change anything else. We have to change what we don't like about ourselves. It boils down about ourselves. We can sit here and we can point out who did this and did that, but really we're manifesting everything into our reality. For instance, if we sat here today and we talked about hate and we felt it, well, we just created that. We have to take responsibility for is our actions, our thoughts and emotions. And that is because if they did, that would mean everything, including the illusion and duality, they would have to take responsibility for that. Because we are the creators, the co-creators, and we create through thought and emotions. And to correct that is to take that lonely road. And it's scary at first. You go through ups and downs, bumps and twists and turns, And it's not an easy road, but when you take it,
No.
you will not regret any of it. Because when you come out the other side, you'll say, wow, I am glad for the struggles, because I am where I am now, and I am me, and I am the creative source, and I am the earth. I am connected to all oneness.
You know, and I think a lot of us are figuring that out now, and the hardest part about that journey that you speak of, the hardest part about it is making that initial step to commit. I don't know if you do it in your mind, but subconsciously or innately, you make that decision at one point or another to go down that road and
Yes.
to get right with everything. And it's that initial step, and yeah, it is lonely at first. It is hell at first. It is. You can't see the river through the trees forever, or the clearing through the trees. It takes heartaches, it takes lessons, but I found that you're more grateful for the things that you do have after you do go through some of those lessons. And granted, that's not saying that doesn't make it any easier to deal with, but I think some of those issues are a lot easier to deal with, or some of the rewards that come from it are a lot more appreciative. Whereas if you didn't have to go through it at all, because how could you know what you didn't have if you've always had it, or vice versa. So
Exactly.
It's a long road.
Exactly.
I think as humans, we don't like to have to accept that. We don't like to have to make that initial step and acknowledge that, okay, it's within us. The problem is not my boss. The problem is not my brother or sister. It's not my parents. It's not a best friend or a partner. It's within ourselves. And just like vice versa, if you've got somebody like that that's being shitty to you all the time, well, chances are they're shitty to everybody else. And what you have to do is you have to realize it's not personal, and understand that that person's going through a lot of crap, and it's within them. And all you can really do is show that kind of person love. And I think people realize that, but it's getting full of that feeling and understanding it's not personal, and being genuinely loving to those people, especially now. And you'd be surprised, the headway you can make. I'm not saying that, it's going to be a miracle overnight, but you can really make a lot of headway with understanding that it's nothing personal, only it's personal within them, or it's personal within you if you've got the problem. You know what I mean?
Exactly that. Exactly. I think that taking this journey means that you have to take full responsibility. It does mean you will have to take responsibility for your actions, which is your thoughts and emotions. And it is a burden, and you will feel like it's a burden, because then you see the world for has, and each individual has to take that journey of responsibility for creating it, because along the line we did create the hell that we're living in. And we can blame our presidents, we could blame the kings and queens, but that road, we were fighting a long time with each other through hate and discrimination and prejudice and self-serving. So at the end of the road, it's, what did I do to create that? What was I feeling at the time when I created that? Just because it didn't have this anger or hatred feeling that came with you, didn't happen to you personally, but meant myself somewhere in a different country. So taking that initiative and taking that journey, it's hard, it's emotional, and there's a lot of bumps. But you have your guides, and your guides will start to appear. Your teachers will start to appear, and you'll learn your lesson. You learn your lessons, you make mistakes, because the more mistakes you make, the more wise you become. And it is about knowledge, but knowledge comes wisdom, and wisdom comes compassion. And if you have compassion with yourself, then you have to have compassion with everyone, no matter who's done wrong or not. You have to, whether we like it or not, they are part of the creation. That's just the way it is.
They're part of us. Yeah, they really are.
Yes.
And I think that if you can't get over some kind of an animosity you have towards somebody, you know, I mean, what does that say about you? And I mean, granted, okay, I mean, let's not talk about rare certain cases. Did somebody hurt your children or I mean, something far out like that, okay, that's a whole nother story. I mean, it is, but it is in another way. But if it's just something where they wronged you or whatever, or you feel like you're wronged and you continue to hold this grudge against them, it's like, what does that say about you? Does it say like you've got an issue with forgiveness? Does it say like, okay, well, maybe you're mad at yourself because you were complacent and let that person take advantage of you? I don't know. I mean, all these things are probably things that have happened to me in various situations in my life. But, you know, usually, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what somebody does to you, the worst thing possible. I mean, at the end of the day, you're alone by yourself. I mean, at some point. Okay, and if you're still hanging on to that, well, I mean, I'm not, yeah, first time anybody's ever heard that, but, you know, it's just something that, you know, you've got to take care of within your own self and try to be happy and love yourself, and then you won't have that animosity towards people. You know, you'll have love, but at the same time, you won't be anybody's fool. You realize the innate possibility with any scenario you're in or person, but at the same time, you have no judgment, because chances are you've probably been there before, you know?
Exactly. What the Buddha said, stop wars unless they have peace within themselves. So if people want
Very
to
profound.
stop the wars, they have to stop warring with themselves. Because each war, each battle, each fight that we fight, we are actually fighting ourselves. So if we want peace, everybody wants global peace, then become peaceful within yourself. You can never ever find peace outside of yourself. It just doesn't happen. You have to find peace within yourselves. Then you manifest that reality. You can't manifest it outside of yourself and think that's real peace.
No, it's such a
because then you have war. We create war so that we can create peace, because people are creating war outside peace outside themselves. So there's we create peace, but that there's no logic in that. How can you find peace anywhere if you're not peaceful with yourself?
Because in that mentality, any peace that you would find, well, you're not going to be happy, and you're just going to want to gear right back up and go back into war again. Okay, hence kind of, you know, how the United States mentality, or, you know, any country for that matter, but any human for that matter. I mean, I think the problem I had growing up, okay, is like another thing with us Starseeds, is that we don't like drama and we don't like a lot of bullshit, but it seems like the whole world was made up of people that couldn't be happy. Like it's such a fictitious thing to live and let live, and to, you know somebody but have no judgment. I mean, they think that you've got to argue or fight. That's just what we do. We war with each other. We fight. Well, why do we have to? I always thought that was the stupidest mentality to have. Is that, oh, well, that's just how it is. We've been warring for thousands of years. Just how it is. Well, it's not just how it is. I mean, for me, it's not a world I want. And I find that most people of like mind, it's not a world that they want. And there's plenty to get accomplished when people are getting along and taking care of each other. Fuck. I mean, let's expand to the stars, or let's stay locked into a maze blindfolded. I mean, what are we going to do, you know?
Well, I think that the world issues is bred upon other people that have different agendas. You know, divide and conquer. You know, we've been told to hate the Middle East because of this and because of that, while the whole world's been told to hate the West because of this and because of that. The world has been told to hate different nations, different religions, different cultures, different colors, because what would happen if we all came together? We would start figuring things out.
A good time.
We would start making noise. We would start making noise. We would start acknowledging each other like we are now. And so everything happens for a reason. It is evolution, and the polarity of that sucks, but it is a universal game. And if we cannot learn how to love each other without limitations, without judgment, without putting something inside, I love you if you do this, or I love you that, if unconditional love and compassion, heartfelt compassion, then we're not going anywhere. This is the lesson, is learning how to love every single living and non-living being here and in the universe. And it doesn't matter where they come from. It doesn't matter what they did or what they didn't do, because only a selective of beings that are still here is causing the chaos. Not the whole collective was in agreement with that. And so, therefore, we still live in a world today of discriminating the whole instead of figuring out the truth about things, about everything. So we quickly to point the finger and not realizing that we really haven't learned that much. Because as humans, we are to teach how to have heartfelt compassion towards everybody through example.
And, you know, change isn't easy. You mentioned the word evolution. You know, I kind of liken what we're going through right now to not necessarily so much a bloody one, but we're kind of going through an evolution revolution right now. We're going through a consciousness evolution revolution. We're awakening to what we've always been. We're awakening to that light that we've always been. You know, but we had to go through the dark to learn it, of course, and to get those lessons. But you're right, there's still, and then also on the other hand, you still have those remaining energies that are here that are stuck in that vibe eternally, it seems, and they just don't want to give up without a fight. Whether it's, and I'm not even going to put a name on it, whether it's an ET, whether it's an energy, whether it's within yourself, what it is what it is. It's a learning universal game. It's a school, and you know, I think we're finally starting to make some headway here, you know, and people don't need to get lulled in, though. You know, we've still, and I'm not going to sound doom and gloom, but you know, there's still some bumpy days ahead. But if we know that and do the right things in every now moment, and just think loving thoughts, just thinking about it, talking about it with people of like mind, or dropping a thought here or there to somebody who's not of like mind, but don't pressure them or don't force your beliefs onto them. I think that give them love from kind of a distance and be there when they need advice, but don't get stuck into that low vibration, because see, again, too, it's not really even their fault with a lot of them. Their minds, IQ-wise, they may be smarter than you or I, but their consciousness level is just not where, you know, ours are, and maybe ours aren't where some others are, and it's just this, you know, it's a process.
Well, you have to understand too is that people that are waking up in total shock. Their consciousness is totally in shock because they are waking up and they're realizing that everything is a fucking lie. Excuse my language, but I have to say that. And that shock factor creates confusion, fear, anger, which is a natural response to a shock like that. And so I believe people that are in that state of mind, that we that are awakened have the responsibility to show as much as compassion towards those people, because although most people are not fully awakened, they are awake to them, and that causes a lot of psychological, emotional, mentally, and physical trauma. That is traumatizing. It's like taking your 4-year-old to the worst, scariest movie on this planet with all this blood and gore, and that child's going to be shocked. Well, it's almost similar to people that are waking up now. A total shock. And by no means, that is not their fault. So it is those that are awake and are aware, knowledge of what is going on, and start doing what we are supposed to do, and that is to take care of our own. Because if we cannot take care of our own, in this cycle of people taking care of us, and we all know how we can be taking. Look at all the deaths.
Yeah, all too well. All too well, we know. Yeah. Just everywhere you look.
So the blood is pouring everywhere on this planet. So this is how we take care of each other? No, we need to do way better than what we've been doing. We need to take responsibility for our own, because they are us. They are blood. They are family.
Blood.
And whether they are our brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, children. They're our children, our grandparents, our nieces. They are flesh and blood. We are made of the same. Whether we even matter, it doesn't even matter where on different planets we come from, where we come from. The fact is that we need to step up to the plate and take responsibility and take care of our own damn people.
Exactly. We're all part of creation.
Which means we have to build relations.
Yes. And how can we pretend that we could ever go out and be a galactical interacting civilization when we can't even get shit straight here? I mean, I'm not trying to, again, paint a doom and gloom picture, but
you can't.
Ascended civilizations that were out there, they wouldn't want us around right now. I mean, they love us, but at the same time, I mean, we've got a lot of issues and that just doesn't resonate on their level. You know, the way we judge and the way we argue with each other. I mean, and you see it even every day in some of these groups. Michelle and I were talking about that earlier on another show, is that you see people bicker over anything. Somebody came onto somebody that wasn't even her friend, I guess, the other day came onto her wall on Facebook and started giving her a bunch of guff about her article she wrote or something that she posted, and and the person's like, well, I can't read any more of this bullshit. Well, like, one, who asked you to come read it? Two, well, okay, well, gee, you know, how would you know if you're not going to read the rest of it? You know, people need to get over that, and it just amazes me because I don't. And see, that's where you're tying in that too. Is, you know, people that are a little more awakened, they have to be humble, and that's a big issue with me. You have to be humble to those who don't understand it yet, because I can let myself get into that lull where I have a real hard time understanding why.
Because when you think about it, when we are going through, when we were going through our issues, did we not do the same thing? Of course. I was cursing everything.
Yes.
I was so messed up from 9 years old till my late 20s. I was livid. Not because I was asleep.
You were a Toronto terror.
But it was just, I was a horrible person. A horrible person. But
you know, and I think there's different.
So therefore,
that,
I cannot.
Yeah.
I can't. But I can't see to judge anybody because of their behavior or their lack of knowledge, because who am I to judge? I am not the creator. I am here to love everybody, and through communication, open communication, and showing that person that, hey man, what's wrong?
Yeah.
What's going on, man? Want to talk? Given that person that is feeling fearful and scared and angry because they've been lied to, aren't you angry because you've been lied to? Your whole history's been lied to. I know I'm fucking livid. I know I'm mad as hell.
Yeah.
I am mad as hell.
Oh, fuck,
I am so angry.
I know. I fucking passed it about a mile back. That's how pissed off I am.
You know, but I and spill that, or I can choose to take that anger and help someone else. Say, what's going on? What's happening? What's happened to you? Want to talk about it? Because therefore, I can relate. I can empathize with them.
Yeah.
Because I know how you feel. I know how you feel. A lot of it's. Let's talk about. Let's have a conversation.
Exactly.
You know, through 2009, this is where I. Go ahead.
No, hon, go ahead. I've got a point. I want you to finish this point. I was going to bring up something else after this, but go ahead. Go. You go.
Okay.
2009.
I think 2009 is where I really began to really come out of my shell. And I started just going on Facebook, and I've never been on Facebook before 2009, but I didn't even know what the hell it was.
Right.
Okay,
that's when I
found
out about it too.
Facebook.
I didn't know about it until 2009. How weird.
Oh, good. I'm not the only one. That's great.
Yeah. Well, if we can figure out which month it was, we can figure out who got there first. I think mine was in April.
Mine was in October.
Oh, okay. I'm so old, fuck.
So in 2009, I just went on Facebook and I started talking to some people, and this was coming around the time where Bradley Manning had leaked, and WikiLeaks had leaked these documents, and this is where my activism started to come in. This is where I knew what my mission was for the first. Knew now what my mission was, and I started just talking to, I don't know, I could have been 500 million people by now, but during that time at first it was such friction, because this is the first time where every race and every nation, every beliefs, every faiths, every walk of life was coming on, and it was just an explosion where we were arguing and fighting, and the ignorance. I was bad too. I got kicked off 11 times off of Facebook, and
Yeah, you were telling me
and
that. I
so
think you hold the record.
yes, it was
Yeah.
a learning experience for everyone, because can you imagine, for the first time, humanity coming together, not even knowing each other existed, because we spent so many years telling each other that we don't exist.
Yes.
And to come on, and it was, and so I would say for the first year, it was just like Facebook war. It was war.
Yeah.
But I eventually, out of that came understanding. We started talking and understanding each other's beliefs and their religion and their ways of thinking, and learning to respect that. I never seen such group of started out as psychos, including myself, turning the Facebook around to be not just a way of communicating with each other, but really to be of learning who we are. And through, I mean, like, I can't speak for everyone, but I can really say that it really taught us a lot about ourselves.
I think so, and I think
when
it's still
we come
doing
together,
it with this newly awakened. Exactly, we really are.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then also, but at the same time, you know, it's a lot different when you're talking to somebody voice to voice than typing. I know that, of course, I'm going to tell the story. One of the first people that I met when coming into these, you know, groups was you, of course, and, you know, we had a lot of the similar thoughts and had a lot of good talks. And I know that, you know, we had some hellacious fights with each other over chat. And the funny thing is, when we started talking voice to voice, it was kind of funny because I realized that, fuck, even the worst of those arguments wouldn't have got past a word or two, if that even, or nothing, because it was just, it's an interpretation of two passionate people just typing words. And, you know, and I'd go back and think about some of the fights, arguments we were having with each other, and it's like, fuck, we were both on the same goddamn page, just
I know.
typing away, though you don't see that, though. And it's like, I want to just apologize to you, because I know that, you know, in some of those private chats we had before we voice chatted, I was a complete, you know, I was maybe I was a little insecure meeting somebody else who was on my consciousness level, because I hadn't really talked to many people like that before. And so I'd get irritated real quick and get shitty with you, and it would just escalate. But then once we talked, I realized that, you know, none of them would have really gotten that heated at all. And so it's really, I think, to help me to really interpret people's
I think it was a really good learning.
Even.
Yeah, I think it was a real good learning experience, really.
I do too,
I learned
because
a lot
also
from you. I learned a lot from you.
A lot from you too. I did too, and I think one of the things, and I'm just now realizing it, is like when I'm just typing to somebody, okay, when I'm more in tune with that emotion coming out of the words they're typing now than I was even just then, even 6-7 months ago or so. You know, when I would take things, I would be real quick to it's sure, all you can do is chalk it up to that it is a learning experience. And yeah, exactly.
That's all it is, a learning experience. It's just a learning experience. You know, and I think that in a lot of levels we still are learning that.
Yes, big time.
Katie, with each other, with the world, because it is that communication, and through communication you learn about yourself, you learn so much about other people. I mean, I think that I have learned a lot growing up by observing humanity and their emotions and thoughts. But my real school started was getting on Facebook and talking to just about every single walk of life on this planet, and then some.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
there, I growing up, I have to say, I never had a great appreciation for humanity as a whole, because I saw even at a very young age, very young, maybe I could see people, how they treat each other, how they treat the earth, how they treat the animals, and that gave me a very bad taste in my mouth, even growing up as a young girl. And so this would be a first experience for me to sit down and talk to different people, learn about them, and this has been one great education filled with knowledge, and humanity as a whole, when they wake up to realize about themselves, you guys are one fucking wicked race, filled with knowledge, filled with inspiration, courageous people. I've never been so inspired in my life.
Yeah, me neither. It's really heartwarming.
And this is why I write, and why I've always written. I've written since I was a kid. But this is why I write the way I do what I do, is to keep that inspiration in humanity, because everything that I write, everything that I've ever learned, came directly from humanity themselves, their thoughts, their emotions, their ups and downs, their good and bad ways, and all coming out of it, it's just pure love.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah, it's true. It's nice to feel it, It's like I've always kind of thought that maybe that's how it could be or was, but it's sure a whole nother thing when you start getting full of that feeling. You know what I mean? When you feel that radiation coming from these people in these groups, and it doesn't even, it gets to the point where you don't even mind somebody saying a bad thing here now and then, you realize that it's all part of the process, and there's just so much love in that group. And I really have never, for people that I have never, most of them, met physically in my life, I have never felt such non-judgment, such sincerity.
Me neither.
I mean, like with parents being that way to you, or friends or family, okay, that maybe they're trying to be sincere, and they are, but it's also about getting full of that feeling, and I just feel it with these people. And I think what it comes down to is, we are all one, but all the people of like mind in these groups, of the various groups on here, they can really, at worst, 80% to everybody can 80% relate to each other with these experiences in some form.
Absolutely. Now we can relate to each other. In 2009, I think we could relate to a lot more.
I know. Isn't that weird?
Energies.
Isn't that weird? Isn't that, it's so weird? And it took me 3 years to find any of these other groups on there. I had mine, and that was it. And I'd type in these groups, and I could never find anything on them. And then all of a sudden, after Thanksgiving this last year, they all popped up. After I checked them again, after I did it every 3 months or so, tried to check, and I'm picturing how that was during that time, and it was probably kind of like the wild west of how it is now. When these groups were in their initial stages and whatnot, I'm sure that you had a lot. This backbiting was probably the norm instead of the rare exception now, and it was just people trying to fill each other out and find their way.
Yeah, I think for me, I came in, I've always been spiritual, but I think for me, going through the activism part really showed me humanity at its best, at its hardcore best. And being a part of that physically in protests and demonstrations, and online talking to people that are in, going from one war to another war to another war, and you can't relate to people being in that war, but at the same token you can, because we are all in a war.
Yeah.
And that and just sitting down and listening to them, all they want to do is to be heard. That's huge.
It's really big.
That's huge. So that changes the ignorance, the arrogance of people, because they teach you how to love
and to relate to people.
That's, I mean, I was taught how to love. I didn't know how to love until 2011.
Yeah.
And then I found my twin flame. He taught me everything I know about love, compassion, forgiveness. He's a warrior. He is the most amazing human being I will ever meet in my lifetime. We may not ever meet physically, but damn it, he is an inspiration to humanity. I believe that, because
and
being in a war and still be filled with love
and non-judgment,
and his non-judgment, and yet he says he forgives. He forgives. I can't. Maybe I still can't see past that. Maybe that's another lesson I may have to learn soon, because he's an incredible human being, and I've learned so much from him. And he'll know who I'm talking about when he sees this show.
Yes. Yeah, he
but
is
I won't
very
mention
cool
his
dude.
name because this is live, and
yes.
And I won't mention his name here because of his protection.
People like that too, though, it's like you learn from them through, they rub off on you. It's not like there's somebody that sits there and preaches to you and, oh, this is what I think, or this is how it's done, this is how it's done. You listen to them talk, and they exuberate pure loving wisdom. Yeah. And it's usually people like that are the calmest and the sweetest. It's you get people that talk a lot of shit and that are really rowdy and everything and have to brag all the time. Well, they're really, it's somebody who's quiet and humble that's really the true scary badass when push came to shove. It's you know, I mean, big time. And those people teach through wisdom, through example, through advice when you want to ask them for it, and it's really a great thing. And you find that people that have been through the worst hell like that are the most humble, understanding, forgiving people you would ever meet, because once you've been to the pinnacle of hell, I mean, I guess what else is left to worry about, really, you know?
Exactly. You know, I mean, he taught me everything. He taught me everything, and one day we will tell our story, because you know, it's important for the world to really hear our story and how it came out to be, because out of hell, out of the worst kind of terror, came a true love story. Really, a true love story. Light came out of the darkness, out of the darkness of hell. And we want to tell it, not you know, lovey-dovey thing, whatever, but it's to show the world that love does exist, and love does prevail.
Yes.
No matter what. And this is the kind of love that people need to have, because there is no other way. And it is this love, this unconditional, deep love, is the reason why he and his family are still alive today. So he is the living proof of what love really is and what it means. this is why he's
Do you
still alive today.
So do you think in that situation, had he had arrogance and ego and short-sightedness, it would have probably got him probably killed in bad, you know what I mean, in that situation without
Yes.
having that consciousness?
Yes.
It wouldn't have given him the discernment to think everything through. I mean, it would have, you know what I mean? It would have done him in if he didn't have all those qualities.
Yes. Without a doubt.
Yeah, and I mean, how many people do
Without
that
a
on
doubt.
such a smaller level too? And like, yeah, you know, people do that. They ruin
Not
careers. They ruin relationships. You know, people that even in a smaller, that are even in normal life with no violence or worries like that, though, we are our own worst enemy at times. You know, we're always looking at we're always looking and thinking this one person's out to get us, and it's really just those person's insecurities. But, you know, we don't have our eye on what really might be lurking out there, you know, because those people are still focused in judgment, you know, and you can't do that, because you've got to have, you can't have judgment, but at the same time you've also got to have kind of an all-knowing. I mean, you realize that in any scenario you're with anybody, that any innate possibility is a possibility. So, but at the same time, you don't need judgment when you've got all discerningness like that. I mean, you just got to take everything now, moment by now moment, really, when dealing in any situation in your life, you know, and just have a good time with it. But at the same time, you know what's going on.
And a tremendous...
But don't, you know.
And a tremendous amount of faith.
Yes, oh man, big time.
That's what it boils down to. Faith.
That's all there
is.
Faith
isn't a religion. Faith crushes fear. Faith is everything.
Yeah.
That crushes fear at any level of fear. At any level of fear. Faith.
Faith with no judgment.
And a whole lot of hope.
And a whole hell of a lot of hope.
Exactly.
And a whole hell of a lot of hope, because if you have one without the other, it's worse than not having either. You know, you have that, you know, if you have that all-knowingness, kind of like, okay, you have no judgment, but at the same time, you know, you don't get buffaloed by people, because you realize that any situation, anything you could ever think of is possible. And so you realize that going into anything innately, and that's not even with judgment. You know that, you know, you just know that people are people, and we all make mistakes, and, you know, walk a mile in somebody's shoes, as the term goes. At the same time, you know, don't open yourself up to those kind of energies of letting people dictate to you and to, you know, because you're not doing somebody like that any favors either when you let them do that. You know, it's shitty for your growth, certainly, and it's also really not very good for theirs as well. So we get caught in this cycle, like a karma cycle, like a life cycle. We just get caught in repeating the same old thing. And it's like repeating bad relationships over and over again, or things like that, right? We're also been in a point where we're repeating lives over again. We're repeating lifetimes over again, doing the same old damn thing we did before, you know, and hopefully, I think we're at a point now where this is kind of make or break or whatever, but I mean, we've come this far and we can't turn back now, but people are going to have to understand and deal with the fact that those that aren't awakened, that we have been here and done this before, and we've had to pay our dues again. And it isn't even paying our dues, it's about learning. Karma is not a good or a bad thing, it's just a universal energy. It's giving what you get and getting what you give, and you know, however the saying goes.
Exactly that.
You know?
Exactly.
And just like when somebody wrongs you, you know, you wish bad karma on them and you wish bad things to happen. I think I've seen a lot of cases where somebody really has hurt somebody and that other person has wished the worst on them, and nothing ever happens, Finally, something really nasty happens to that person, and by that time, it's much more worse than the person could have ever wanted to begin with to happen to them. Plus they're over the animosity at that point anyway. yet, they've
And with
manifested
those,
someone.
yeah, and with those, and with those kind of energies, that just created another war. See, energy flows like a butterfly. That's what I wrote. That's your favorite piece of writing, butterfly effect. Consciousness is like a
Yes.
butterfly. It affects everyone, everywhere, and it doesn't matter how far, how near, it flows. That any kind of energies, because that's what's conscious. That's consciousness. So if you sit down and you think of hate and you wish, it's going to go to many, many, many parts. It's going to go to the universe. It's going to go to the earth, because the earth is responsible for your manifestation. This planet is responsible for your reality. So anything that you desire to think and feel, well, she's going to manifest it for you. And somewhere, it may not happen today. It may not happen for the next decade. Those type of energies will come back to you in the worst possible way.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a given.
That's how karma works.
Yeah.
And this is why taking responsibility for your own actions, thoughts, and emotions needs to be done. Because we cannot move forward if we keep pointing fingers at this person, because it's never going to stop. It's just going to keep a cycle. It's going to keep going and going and going. And really, I'm really like to have a really I like to go outside and have a real peaceful day with no sound. Just no sound of bickering and
quiet
and all this noise. It's static.
Yeah. It's just, and you
I
can
like to
feel
call it. There's a word for it. White noise. It's called white noise. All this noise, all this yelling, all this. Just stop it. Go in. Just stop. Noise. Just be peaceful.
Exactly.
Just stop feeding the illusion.
Yeah, exactly.
More people spend more time on the illusion and what these other people are doing than they spend time with themselves. If they spend more time with themselves, I can bet you anything the world would change in a blink of an eye.
It really would, because we're so hung up on...
Everyone spent more on
no, go ahead.
Who did this and who did that. Oh my God. What? No, that's really, that is information that people need to know. Yes.
Yep.
But to concentrate on it 24 hours a day, that is a distraction, because that is what the illusion wants us to do, to be distracted so that we forget why we are waking up in the first place.
Yeah, we need to get past this, talking behind each other's back about who's fucking who and who's getting fat, to quote an old Ice Cube lyric. But it's true, because we're so hung up on that too. We're so hung up on what they're doing and what these people are thinking about us and what they're thinking. And I've seen people get caught in the illusion that they think, oh, they're talking about me. I know they're just over at that house and they're talking about me. They're just, and it's like they should be so important, like they'd be being talked about, They just have this thought that people's lives are revolving, and then again, it's such an insecurity. But then again, it's ego too, because they think that they're the center of attention and that people are actually into them. It's kind of a double-edged sword.
Well, it's the same thing with the governments. The biggest illusion is the governments. If people spend less time on who screwed who today.
Oh God, I know.
It spent a lot more time, and it spent a lot more time as a civilization and helping our brothers and sisters, more time with ourselves.
Yeah, instead of judging.
I truly believe that we can make that quantum leap together. I mean, there's brothers and sisters in South America that need help. If we all came together to take care of our own and to take responsibility for our own actions.
Yeah, and a do as I do, not as
mistakes.
Right. With a do as I do mentality, not do as I say.
Goodbye to the illusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the government gets into this mentality of, we take care of, we need to take care of our own, take care of our brothers and sisters, but they will sit there and tell you, well, they make you want to think, well, you are your brother's keeper, your sister's keeper, but they put it in a way to where it's a judgmental thing, like, oh, well, do as, tell them to do as you say, not as you do, and then we do things maybe that we wouldn't agree with them doing because we think we're better and we can handle it. It breeds that kind of mentality instead of still knowing everybody's business, but with no judgment, you know what I mean? With an all loving, no judgment. I mean, if everybody knew everybody's business with no judgment and all loving, there'd be no reason to care what anybody knew about you. But when it's done in a snide way, and it's done in an arrogant, look down way, in a stereotypical way that our society has forced upon people that we forced our society to force upon us. It's that yin and the yang again.
I just think that I believe that if we just, spend more time on ourselves and more time getting to know each other better as a civilization and start talking about what's the next step as a civilization and stop concentrating so much on the illusion, I think we might actually get somewhere, because the more we spend time on the illusion, the less time we spend on the solutions. No one has yet come up with a solution yet, because we haven't actually sat down and had talks about it. Has a civilization, has nation to nation, has people of the earth, not governments of the earth, has the governess, has the ambassadors of this planet. It has nothing to do with governments, with your political people. Because if you look around, they have nothing to do with that. They want to take and destroy and to eliminate.
Exactly.
So when people really get it together, it is about how are we going to move forward as the peoples of the earth, has this earth with the native species, living beings. That's what it. Figuring out how to take care. This will never ever happen again. Because if we don't,
exactly, because we keep ourselves locked in bondage by governments
that we are going
not evolving. These governments, Sarah, that control us, and everything, it's really, I think, mostly just a manifestation of us. We're going to get gamed if we don't step up to the game, basically. I mean, we do this to ourselves as a collective. We put these corrupt governments, and I'm not saying we vote them in or whatever. We keep ourselves in bondage on our own, and it's reflecting in our government and our leaders and the people that we have in charge, when it should be all of us in charge. But until we're ready as a collective to do that, 6 of one, half a dozen or the other. What are you going to do?
It's time now for humanity.
People talk about anarchy.
Really step up to the plate. And really
it really is. Our time is now. The time is ripe for it. Yeah. Big time. we're in that window right now, and it's time, and I see it happening every day, and I just keep hammering that point home because we can't lose sight of this. Yeah, we just need to understand basically that we're all one, and we need to be in charge of our own selves and fix our own selves, and that overnight. All these things that we speak of, these solutions, I mean, if people would just get on board, I mean, one of these things alone would fix humanity really quick. A couple of these things would do it practically overnight. I mean, the ego needs to go. A little bit of ego, okay, is fine, but you know, you got to know when to say when, and you know, not thumb your nose at a good idea just because it wasn't your idea.
Taking responsibility for actions on this planet, their own actions, that would change very, very quickly. Until humanity does that individually, take responsibility for their actions, nothing will change.
No doubt about it.
Full responsibility for their thoughts and emotions, and they have to become aware of what they're thinking and what they're putting out there. So until then, we can talk about love, we can talk about compassion, but one thing that people don't want to talk about is taking responsibility for our actions. I know that I made lots of mistakes. I know I've created too hell on earth. I can admit that because my thoughts were very dark, very, very dark. And yes, I am responsible for a lot of these deaths. I am responsible for the earth suffering, for the animal suffering. I can own up to that responsibility. But can everyone else?
Exactly, and it's going to take one person at a time doing it, because
thing to swallow.
Otherwise what you get is everybody blames everybody else.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody wants to point the finger at everybody else, but when it's a bitter pill to swallow when you realize it wasn't them, it was you. And if everybody realized, hey, it's me, well, there you go. There's the problem solved. It's really not that hard in a way. Because everybody, it's really when you break it down.
Who are they going to blame?
It's very hard. Themselves on the last
it's very
list,
hard because it is very hard to know that. Well, responsibility for your actions, because then you have to realize that you are responsible for creating war. So that means you're responsible for killing mothers and fathers and children. You are responsible for what happened to this planet. You are responsible for the animals disappearing and the pollution. This is taking full responsibility for your actions, because we are responsible for this planet. Period. And so when you think and that's going through that first path is learning that responsibility and own it.
Exactly.
Because I don't sit here and I don't blame nobody for what I have created, because I too have created this hell. But I have also forgiven myself.
That's the key too, is forgiving yourself, because I think too that, you know, when you're first, before you get to that point, you know, you're at that phase where you realize that, okay, it's probably my fault, but you know, you're hurting and you want to lash out at other people and you're angry, but it's really, you're mad and you're hurt at yourself and you're like, what a dumbass I was. I can't believe I did that. Why didn't I think that through a little bit? You know, and it's just hard, and it's like, I always kept hoping one day that I would get it, you know? Because you keep, how many times can you walk right into the glass door when you could have walked to the side of either side and went around it, But you keep, walking into the glass door.
Yeah. It's difficult
yes.
to take that responsibility, because then you have to deal with it. You just have to deal with what's happening on the world, and you have to try to fix it as much as you can. And maybe fixing it, maybe talking to people like we are now, or building that relations with
making amends with
humanity.
your worst enemy, which is yourself. In that dark moment, in that beginning of that journey, making amends with who is your worst enemy in that particular moment, and that's yourself. And that's just really how it is. And I know a million people have came out and said the things that we're saying to a point, but we're saying it out of love and compassion, because we've been there and we know. It's not like on a high horse preaching, well, you should have done this. Well, I would have done this. If I was there, I would have done that. Oh, bullshit. No, I wouldn't have. I would have done this. I would have made the same mistake,
Yeah. And mistakes are being made. This is how we learn. We learn through experience. And when it becomes a repeated mistake, that's when it becomes a choice, because then you choose to do it.
And it's also about forgiveness.
Because you're conscious. You're
yeah. It's about forgiving yourself. Forgiveness and forgiving yourself, and hoping others can forgive you for what you have done. And sometimes it's a situation where it's a learning curve. I mean,
always.
Exactly. I mean, it just. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, we're sitting here talking today. I think you're about the only person that I've ever gotten really shitty, nasty with in a private argument back in the day here on Facebook.
I know.
I mean, and it was really just it's energies and the time, and it just goes to show you it was just it's
learning.
one of the things we learn from it is the best thing like that, and and that's all you can really do. Is try to learn from it, and if you don't learn from it, well, then you get to do it again. Yay! No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree, and I just want everybody to keep in mind out there that we love everybody out there, and we appreciate the love that they give us, and they're basically an extended family. I mean, families bicker with each other, but at the end of the day, you let it go, you drop it. Hey, no judgment, no backbiting. It is what it is. Things are going to get heated once in a while, and you just work through it, and then hopefully the next time something like that comes up with the same person, you learn to watch for some of those undertones, and you realize, well, is this what they meant? What are they thinking that I mean? How am I coming across? See, we don't think about how we come across. All we're doing is pointing the finger. It was him, it was her, it was that guy, but it wasn't me. Yeah. Anybody could have done it. Somebody should have done it, but nobody did do it. So it's just one of them things, and I think it's important too that we talk about things like this.
Oh, absolutely. I think so too. I think that people should be able to express themselves in this kind of way. That way people can get the understanding of them. Tell your side of the story. Share your experience. I mean, share your pain, because people don't know. We can't help, And there are people that are awake, and a lot of people. And we know that there's a lot of pain going on. When we understand that, we know that. And it's coming together and being able to express ourselves and start that journey of healing.
Yeah.
But we can't do that. We can't do that until we come together and start taking care of our own.
Exactly. Without judgment, without this do as I do, not or do as I say, not as I do mentality. Exactly.
Exactly.
That, along with the loving and understanding. What are you doing? What are you doing? Making a snack? Are you making a snack for the audience?
Oh yeah, I'm making a cheese sandwich, everybody. I'm starving.
Are you gonna? Yeah. Yes. Sarah will fax you a cheese sandwich. Yeah. It's snack time. Everybody gets a virtual cheese sandwich. I'll send them one of those Facebook stickers. Yeah. It's
Oh, you better.
No, I'm going to. I know. I think I've got a piece of pizza on there too, and a milkshake or
I mean,
a donut.
It's professional to begin with.
I think it's cool. But yeah,
people, my friend on Facebook.
Radio host Sarah Browne.
Well,
cooking dinner.
If I was acting, well, if I was acting professional, most of my friends on Facebook would ask me what the hell was wrong with me. So I have to keep it natural, you see.
You've got to. Yeah, you definitely got to. You got to keep it
like, oh my God.
That's why I don't like on my network here, on the Pleiadian, network here. I don't like scheduling shows per se, unless it's with an individual that it's got to be at a certain time done. But because really we're in no time right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's kind of ridiculous to have it scheduled per se for any time, because we're 24/7 flowing consciousness now, girl. So
exactly.
Yeah. By the way, what kind of cheese are you having on that sandwich?
Well, cheddar.
Oh, good. I like one. You know what? I like one with cheddar and Swiss both. Those are good sometimes.
Oh yeah, same here too. Yes, me too.
Are you grilling it right now? Are you grilling it, or are you too lazy? Are you making a sandwich? Or are you just going to make it and eat it, or are you going to actually take the time to grill it?
Oh God, no, I'm too lazy for that.
I know, me too. I think with ascension symptoms, we don't have time for the small shit like that.
No.
Yeah, we don't have time for that.
I don't have time. Just throw it together and hope for the best.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. As long as there's no ham or bacon on it. God, I can't stand pork or meat to begin with, and yeah, it's got to be just. But that's just me. No judgment, you meat eaters and animal killers out there. No, anyway, yeah, wow. So I think that we've covered some good topics, and and I hope that people will think that our rattling, if nothing else, look at it this way, Sarah, maybe they'll get a good comedy laugh out of hearing us just go blah 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 and walk all over each other and cut out. But it's all good, because you gotta be you. Who else can you be?
You gotta be natural. If it was, I think that I was talking to a friend of mine I was telling you today, and she says, well, about my own radio show coming up, and she says, well, if you do a script, you sound like CNN.
Yeah,
so just go on there and just start chatting about something.
Exactly. And one thing Sarah promised me that you won't come on and go, this is CBC. This is CBC.
No, I'll say this is CNN.
Yeah. This is CNN, yes, yeah, even more of a joke. This is Fox News. This is Fox News.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that kind of media to me. I know, but what's funny is that kind of media to me, whether it's CNN, whether it's any of our networks, whether it's CBC or CTV in Canada, even that shit don't even exist in my realm anymore. It's weird, and I'm sure long since hasn't yours either. I mean, you know what I mean? They don't even exist in my world.
So I can't watch anything.
Right. But I mean, just the thought of a CNN and shit, they're out there, that. But I mean, do they really even exist in your world as far as? I don't even vibe with that at all, and I just
never have.
I feel like I'm going back in time on those rare cases if I'm with a family member over somewhere, or they've got it on, or got it on in the car, CNN radio here. I feel like I've gone back in a time warp somewhere where people are still like,
Same here.
riding in a horse and buggy or whatever. It's like I can't. It's
Yeah.
it's almost comical now. If it weren't so irritating, it's almost comical. Yeah,
Well,
it really is a
I
trip.
don't. I got rid of. Well, you see, I got rid of my TV in 2012, and you know something? I am so occupied with my time,
Yeah,
I don't even miss a damn
exactly.
thing.
And enlightened by it, exactly. And you know what I find too is I quit, I've still got it, but I quit watching it about then too. But I feel like if I'm somewhere where it's on, the vibration really bothers me of it. And if it's some kind of newscast on, I couldn't handle
There's,
it for 2 minutes without getting squirrely, like I was having bad withdrawals. I mean, like I got to get away from it.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose I could sit down
No,
in the right situation with the kids or with somebody that I was with and watch a movie. But even that, it's hard for me to sit still like for a movie or I don't know. I want to know it all right now all at
well, I
once.
could. I,
And
well, I mean, like I watch movies once in a while, but I mean, like that's about it. I mean, I do like my entertainment once in a blue moon. But
yeah.
other than that, I mean, like I'm
Well,
so
too,
I'm so
yeah,
I'm
and
so busy being occupied. I don't have time
yeah.
to by my
Exactly. That's
guide,
part of
so
it.
I really don't have
Exactly.
time.
You don't have any time at all. And I think too, when you watch that occasional movie, though, yes, you're still seeing it on a TV or whatever, but you're not getting that. I don't think it beams in that frequency control like these networks do. I mean, all the cable channels do, but especially like networks, like whether, like I said, it's NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox here, BBC in England, CTV and
Hmm.
CBC up there. They have a frequency control that they beam in with all the minutia to it. Whereas, okay, you're still getting it through a TV if you're putting in a disc, but it's not. I really don't think it's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's not as intense as that constant
Well, I
beam
just watch
from
my next.
you watch
Yeah, I just
Netflix.
watch my movies on. Yep.
Well,
Yeah, I
see
will have a TV in my
again,
house.
you can do that on your PC or whatever, your laptop. Is that what you watch
Hmm.
some of your movies on? Yeah,
Yep.
and that's the great part of it too is that it can be done that way. And you know, this minutia of having, yeah, I don't know, and no judgment. I mean,
The way,
somebody wants to watch TV, they can, but
no
fuck it.
judgment at all. But the way I see it,
And I was the one who had the TV guide memorized growing up. I mean, there was no bigger of a TV junkie than me. I mean, let me tell you something. People will talk about being a couch potato. I mean, I had the TV guide memorized at 8 years old. Seriously, like I could tell you Monday through the next Monday, Monday through Sunday. I could tell you from 7 o'clock till 11. Well, the late shows to Letterman came on. I could tell you every single fucking show that was on the four major U.S. networks. Well, I guess it was three partly back then. Fox wasn't out yet, but I could seriously tell you, and that's probably goes along with my ADD mind, but I mean, I could tell you every goddamn show that was on. Thursday night it was this, Wednesday, and I could go all the way from 8 o'clock or whenever it started on. So it's really something. And now I can't stand to even be around it. I mean, I was a sports nut for years until a year or so ago. I just engulfed in the NBA and the NFL and even the CFL from Canada, and now it's just so
well,
irrelevant.
anyways,
Yeah, it's
well,
so irrelevant now.
the way I look at it is that I don't have to pay for garbage. So that's why I
Well,
got rid of the
that's
TV
true.
as well. I refuse to pay for
Yeah, I mean, it's
it.
bad
I
enough a
have less
person's got to pay to
bills.
get rid of it. Yeah, it's bad enough a person's got to pay to get rid of garbage some places. You sure don't want to pay to get garbage. Here, bring some garbage over. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
So
So you're munching out in Toronto.
yeah,
Cool.
Yep. Sure am.
It doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Not at all. Totally unprofessional, dude?
Yeah, dude. As we dude, as we would
So,
say here on the West Coast. Yes, dude, totally, dude. Dude, what are you doing, dude? Where are you at, dude? Dude, did you see that, dude? I don't know, dude. It's a what?
I just lost a train of thought.
Well, the dude thing, I mean, it took me till I was over 30 years old to break myself of saying that all the time, though, because growing up in there, I did, and in the part of the country that I'm in, it was just that surfer, skater, dude, to the point where it's ingrained in our culture. And I would even say that working in corporate America in my 20s, saying that kind of shit, dude. It took me into my early 30s to break using that kind of slang all the damn time, just like, it'd be like trying to get rid of, it'd be like trying to make a promise you'd never say A again in your life. It takes some work. Yeah. Which that'll be an interesting topic for some show when we're really bored, is we can try to understand why A caught on in Canada but never down in the States when it's right by each other. That's a fucking enigma.
But you know something? That's out in the West Coast that they say it. They don't say it in the East Coast. That's the West Coast. You go down to like British Columbia and Winnipeg and
Alberta,
Calgary, they say A out there, but we don't say it here. Yep. They say it out there, not in Toronto.
Yeah, and it seems like their accents are a little bit. I almost used to want to say that they're not as thick as your guys's, but it's like they are with some words and then they aren't with some words. Like mum, the way they say mum is more British than you guys do, but the way you guys say a boat is more like that than they say it, whereas they say it more Americanized. And it's really weird. It's kind of a dialect, and I'm sure even the middle part of Canada has their own, a little bit of a dialect too when you're in prairie country like Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And probably as you get into Nova Scotia, New Brunswick. I mean, we know Quebec, okay, yeah, the French thing, but New Brunswick and Nova Scotia probably have a little bit of a different dialect, or am I wrong? Am I right?
Oh yeah, very, very different. Very different dialect.
Exactly, and every country I think has different dialects. I think only us Americans think we're the only country that has a bunch of different dialects. I mean, it's which is kind of funny because America, the way people see like overseas when they see our TV shows, they hear that mostly that West Coast accent, that California, Oregon, Pacific Northwest accent, maybe the Rocky Mountains. But the rest of the country has a different dialect than that, whether it's New York, whether it's down south in the southeast, Texas, wherever, like Michelle's subtle kind of southern accent. And then as you get deeper into the south, it gets deeper. And so really the only people that talk the way they see on shows are people from out here. So I always have in my ego, I would tell people, well, we talk the right way out here in America, or in America we talk the right way on the West Coast because we pronounce our words right. But it's just kind of funny, the different regional dialects. But anyway, I forgot even what the hell the show was about. I think maybe we better wrap up for the night. And one thing I would like one thing I would like to say is that in the future, we're going to be talking about some controversial issues. Well, I don't want to say controversial. That word is so stupid. The only controversial thing I know is Sarah.
Yeah, I would like to say that.
Sarah Browne is one controversial, cool, badass chick. But other than that, what I'm saying is like things like, I think we should tackle, starseeds and drug use, alcohol use, and not so much the harping part of it, oh, it's good or it's bad, but why we turn to alternatives like that, or whether it's a sex addiction, or whether it's any kind of addiction, shopping, whether it's just anything to numb us from this 3D world. So I think on that note, that'll be the topic that we discuss next time, is we'll talk about addictions in general and why starseeds flee to that. And I don't think, and even in some of my Pleiadian guide kind of dialogues I've had with them, it's, you know, it's no big brain. It's no big brain. It's not a brainiac thing to realize why we do it. It's because of how dense 3D is down here, and we don't like it here. And so we can tackle all that next time. And Sara, before we go, I'm going to say the same thing I did to Michelle earlier. Why don't you, like an old cliche, why don't you let everybody know where in cyberspace they can find you lurking, or where on Facebook they may find you lurking around at? Where are some of the spots we may hunt you down on Facebook at? Ooh.
Well, you can hunt me. Well, you can hunt me down on Facebook. I have 2 Facebook groups. One is a page called Rising Planet, and the group is Rising Planet again. And then you can hunt me down on my site at planet.blogspot.ca, and you can check in the upcoming show that will hopefully be happening. Well, this week goes.
Yes, indeed.
Forward to talking to you all. And
y'all, Michelle will appreciate that, y'all.
Just giving some teachings and do some interviews.
Yeah.
And y'all have a good night.
Y'all have a hold on. Did you kind of did Earth First Productions kind of, are you still kind of monitoring that, or is that just kind of, you know, you're focusing on other things now? That group, you know, the group you had, Earth First.
I will probably go back. Well, Earth First Production, I will tend to that when the time is right. So I'm just gonna let it go
ride
for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah,
that'll be tied into everything.
I have,
okay, well, good. We can find you there.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually. Yes, and they can
find me anywhere.
Yes, they can find me. They can find me at Pleiadians, Fringe Thinkers, everywhere. Just find me. I'm not hard to find. I stick out like a sore thumb. Okay, I'm the guy with a bald head and a rainbow coming off of him. Okay, for God's sake, I'm out there. Anyway, so Sara, you have a good night, dear, and I hope that the beautiful smoggy moonlight of the Toronto skyline is to your liking tonight. And you know, I'll be thinking about you while I'm out looking over the Pacific Ocean in this clear Oregon air. Now I say that, right? See, that's bad karma I'm putting out there. I'm going to get a bunch of Fukushima radiation drawn our way for saying that. Anyway, all right, much love to everybody out there. Peace and a big dating game kiss to everybody out there. Da 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 da. Mwah. Da 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 da. Okay, all right, Sara, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, and we're out.